We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
Welcome to another edition of Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I am your host, I'm your guide, I'm your navigator, and I'm the dude sitting on the other side of the computer screen. It's me, Robert Phoenix. How is everybody today? We're clearly in Aquarius, and we got there just over the weekend, and with the new moon on Monday, so we had a nice opportunity to have some resets with the new moon. You know what? I don't want to forget the people in the chat room. Let's open up that chat room. If you're confused, like some other people are, apparently, about when this show airs, it usually airs at 10 o'clock. Now, let me tell you what happens. I program pretty much all my shows in advance. And I did it a long time ago when I was doing shows every day. So what happened was, so Blog Talk automatically kind of renews my cycle of shows. So I have to go into the back end, and we'll have to change the times and the dates of the show. I mean, it's most of the times, not the dates. There are some shows, like the Tuesday, Thursday show, which I used to do. I just have to delete those. And sometimes their back end technology is fine. Other times, not so fine. And this is one of the days where it was not so fine because I kept hitting 10 a.m. and it didn't recognize it. It kept it at 11, which is not a bad thing per se because I've been pretty sick the last week, so I could use the extra hour this morning to kind of get it together and prepare myself and, soak up as much energy as possible to be at your service this day. Some really interesting birthdays yesterday, not really today. I don't know. John Belushi's birthday is today. I went back and I started to watch a lot of the old Saturday Night Lives recently, since I have Netflix. And let me tell you, John Belushi was not that funny. I mean, he had his moments, but he would do stuff like the Samurai. First of all, you couldn't do Samurai now. You could do Samurai elevator operator. He was a crazy samurai doing a fake Japanese sort of dialect, and it just isn't funny. It's just not funny. Now, maybe back then it was funny. Why? Because everybody was high. You watch Saturday Night Live, you were high as a kite. It was at the end of the night, and if you weren't out at a party and you weren't doing anything, you were home watching Saturday Night Live. And you were, sharing your high with their high because they were all high too. I mean, it's a known fact. They were all major coke fiends. So, you go back and you watch some of the. Now, that's not to say that he wasn't a great physical comedian. I mean, I thought he was, all over it in the Blues Brothers. He was great in National Lampoon. But you just go back and you watch Saturday Night Live. Not that funny. Just not that funny. Another birthday today. Now, this guy really typifies, for me, a true Aquarian spirit. I'm talking Steve Prefontaine. And Steve Prefontaine was a runner, and he was from Oregon. He was a long distance runner, and he did the mile, and he did the 3,000 meters. And his big rival in college was Marty LaCourie, who was not as good a runner, but he wound up living longer than Steve Prefontaine. Steve Prefontaine was a rock star. He was a rock star. I think he might have been one of the first athletes to be deeply entrenched in the Nike world since he went to the University of Oregon. And Steve Prefontaine was one of these guys that lived life to the beat of his own drummer. And he lost his life fairly early on. It was unfortunate. Very interesting guy. There's 2 movies out there if you want to find out more about him. One is called Pre, P-R-E. That was his nickname, Pre. He was a difficult person, but he was an Aquarius. He was a free spirit. What do you expect? This is what we love about Aquarians, right? Yesterday, the birthdays were actually kind of cool. That's not to say that Steve Prefontaine he's great, but yesterday's birthdays. Yesterday was the birthday of Jose Arguelles. He was the father of the harmonic convergence and his own version of the Mayan calendar, what we call the dream spell, perhaps one of the most influential spiritual icons of the 20th century. And what was really interesting about his death, he died last year, took people really by surprise. He died right around the same time as Ra Uru Hu from the Human Design Movement, and both of them were known as people who developed their own systems. And, whether you agree with it or not, and there are people that don't agree with Arguelles' version of the Mayan calendar. They believe that it's really self-serving. That what he did is he put himself right at the beginning of his birthday of his version of the Mayan calendar. Oh yes, it starts on my day since I'm Paco Votan. So there's a disparity between the dream spell count and the traditional count of the Dresden Codex, and so anyway, Jose Arguelles, genius nonetheless, brilliant genius nonetheless. It would have been his birthday today. Yesterday also had another interesting birthday. Who was it? Let's see. Michio Kaku. I think he shows up on Coast to Coast every so often. When the whole Fukushima thing really started to get cooking, Kaku came right up, and he was kind of a big spokesperson for it. And then, as things evolved with that, people began to pay more attention to Michio Kaku, and then he began to kind of parrot these one world, new world sort of platitudes. And they're like, oh, really? What's going on with this guy? No, please, not him. Not him, too. Come on now. We really wanted him for us. Do we have to let him go as well? So, anyway, Michio Kaku, his birthday, very bright guy. He may or may not work for the man. Figure it out for yourself. Let's see, who else? Nastasia Kinski. Nastasia Kinski. One of the hottest scenes I've ever seen in moviedom was the film The Cat People. And Nastasia Kinski is wearing these waders and these very short shorts. Very short shorts. And she's out kind of in the water, and John Hurd just loses his mind when he sees her. It's kind of a smoking hot scene. So her birthday yesterday, very controversial relationship with her father, super controversial. Her dad was nuts. Klaus Kinski was full-on nuts. Really interesting, but nuts. Speaking of another Klaus Nomi, his birthday was yesterday. Klaus Nomi he was a fashion designer, and he was a backup singer for David Bowie. In fact, if you go to the 80s version of the late 70s? I think it was late 70s. Late 70s version of the Saturday Night Live repeats. Pardon me. You might hear a few of those throughout the show today, by the way. I'm just letting you know ahead of time. Klaus Nomi can be seen singing backup with Bowie. Yeah, he did that. And he was the thinnest person I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he almost looked like a cartoon character, Klaus Nomi. And he went off and he had a 3-octave range. He was an opera singer. An unusual man, Klaus Nomi. And Swami Rudrananda, his birthday was yesterday as well. So there you go. There's some interesting Aquarian types whose birthdays are today and yesterday. I don't know if you've been paying any attention to this. I certainly have. But we are about to be hit by a significant, and I mean significant, solar flare today. The solar flare got unleashed about 2 days ago. So it was on Sunday. So what is it today? Today is Wednesday, so 3 days ago. I want to read this to you. This is from thestar.com. So here, I think, is it the Star, which is the, where is this from? This is from Canada. This is a Canadian portal. It might be the Toronto Star. All right, so this is from thestar.com. It says here, the sun is bombarding Earth with radiation from the biggest solar storm in more than 6 years, with more to come from the fast-moving eruption. The solar flare occurred at about 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Sunday and will hit the Earth with 3 different effects at 3 different times. The biggest issue is radiation, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Space Weather Prediction Center in Colorado. The radiation is mostly concerned for satellite disruptions and astronauts in space. It can cause physical communication problems for polar traveling airplanes, said Space Weather Center physicist Doug Biesecker. Okay, so let's just stop right there. If you plan on traveling in North Pole over the next couple of days, you may want to just, put that trip aside for a week or so, because I know that a lot of people out there do a lot of polar traveling. I just want to, I'm here for you. Radiation from Sunday's flare arrived at Earth an hour later and will likely continue through Wednesday. So we're in the midst of it right now. Levels are considered strong, but other storms have been more severe. These are 2 higher level levels of radiation on NOAA's storm scale, severe and extreme, Biesecker said. Still, this storm is the strongest for radiation since May 2005. The radiation in the form of protons came flying out of the sun at 150 million kilometers per hour. The whole volume of space between here and Jupiter is just filled with protons, and you just don't get rid of them like that, Biesecker said. That's why the effects will stick around for a couple of days. NASA's flight surgeons and solar experts examined the solar flare's expected effects and decided that the 6 astronauts on the International Space Station, also known as the ISS, do not have to do anything to protect themselves from the radiation, spokesman Bob Navius said. A solar eruption is followed by a 1-2-3 punch, said Antti Pulkkinen, a physicist at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center in Maryland and Catholic University. First comes electromagnetic radiation, followed by radiation in the form of protons. Then finally, the coronal mass ejection. That's the plasma from the sun itself. it hits. Usually that travels at about 1.6 or 3.2 million kilometers per hour. But this storm is particularly speedy and is shooting out at 6.4 million kilometers per hour, Bicyker said. It's the plasma that causes much of the noticeable problems on Earth, such as electrical grid outages. In 1989, a solar storm caused a massive blackout in Quebec. It can also pull the northern lights farther south. But this coronal mass ejection seems likely to be only moderate, with a chance for becoming strong. Bicyker said the worst of the storm is likely to go north of the Earth. And unlike last October, when a freak solar storm caused auroras to be seen as far south as one could see an aurora, but not until that's terrible writing, I'm sorry. For the past several years, the sun had been quiet, almost too quiet. Part of that was the normal calm part of the sun's 11-year cycle of activity. Last year, scientists started to speculate that the sun was going into an unusually quiet cycle that seems to happen maybe once a century or so. Now that super quiet cycle does not seem as likely, Bicyker said. The scientists watching the sun with a new NASA satellite launched in 2010 during the sun's quiet period are excited. We haven't had anything like this for a number of years, Polkinen said. It's kind of special. So we're being hit by extremely intense and very strong pulsations of protons, magnetic radiation, and the coronal mass ejection. It's all coming at us. So, I don't know if people out there feel the solar activity. I mean, can you? This is an open question. I'll maybe ask some of the callers if they feel this. But do you feel the solar activity when the sun unleashes these blasts, which are getting more and more common and frequent towards the planet? Does it affect you? Do you feel more tired? Do you feel more irritable? Do you feel more alive? Do you feel more spacey? What's your relationship to this intensified solar energy? It's a question. And, I'm wondering too, and I've never really thought about this before, but is the solar energy that is expelled from the sun during the time that the sun is theoretically in Aquarius, is it really more intensely Aquarian? I mean, is this something that we're, do we get a super blast of Aquarius, or have we gotten that? Because it happened right at the start of Aquarius, right? It was at 0 degrees Aquarius, and the sun just, kicked open the door and said, "Here, have a load of this." So, does the actual energy contain the solar qualities of Aquarius? It's an interesting thought. Think about it. Let's see who's on the line here, and if they want to talk, what they want to talk about. Let's go to the 847. 847, I'm about to grab you. So be ready. I'm coming at you in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You're on the air. Hello? Hello? Going once. Going twice. See you. Let's go to the 901 number. 901, I'm coming at you as well. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, 901. Hello?
Hello, Robert.
Hey.
Lenise.
Hey, how are you?
I'm okay.
Yeah. Hey, did you get the reading?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Because I've been thinking about you. I didn't hear back from you, so I just wanted to make sure you got it.
Yes, I got it.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Very good. Excellent. So what's going on? Do you have anything you want to share with people today, or just you want to check in, see how you're doing? What's up with you?
Well, I'm having a lot of crazy dreams and actually having my heart rate and respirations be affected by these dreams, and
Really?
trying to figure out what's going on with that. Yeah, I wake up with just fast heartbeat, and I'm always in the
Wow.
now.
Well,
So I don't know what's going on with that.
well, do you feel like sharing any of the dreams with us?
Okay, for instance, last night I was suspended on a board between two tall buildings with all this, space under me, down to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to get up and walk across this board and make it without falling.
Wow.
So in the meantime, my heart is racing. I'm very afraid, and there's this man standing there, and he's saying, "You can do this," and I'm paralyzed, saying, "No, I can't because I might fall." So in the meantime, I'm full of fear. My heart is racing, and I'm breathing hard and all of that. And the bad part about it is I've worked up like that. And this has been going on for a while, and it seems to be getting worse. So I don't know what's going on with that, because it's affecting my daily life, because I'm always tired when I wake up. Always just busy, and the same theme. I'm either lost from the group, forgot where I came from, and I'm trying to find somebody. And it just seems to be an ongoing theme that's, like I said, it's affecting my awake time.
Right.
And I'm very tired.
Right. So let's go over the themes here. You have themes of being left behind or left out, trying to find your group, going to the other side, which is kind of an interesting metaphor. So these are the main themes.
I'm always in distress. I go on these cruises and I lose my family, and instead of enjoying the cruise, there's I would water there a lot too. So I'm always looking for them, looking for whoever I was with.
Right.
So there's always a big stress factor.
Do you think that this factors into maybe moving back to another part of Tennessee? I mean, have you made the connection between those two things, like where you grew up? Because we talked a little bit about that, right?
No, we haven't talked about that. I'm living in my birthplace now.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I must have got the information crosswired there. So what do you think it all means? Let me ask you. What do you think it means?
Well, I began to evaluate it because another crazy thing happened. I can literally come from being asleep to a standing position, very scared, out of breath, heart beating fast. And, it keeps going on. And then I said, well, maybe I've got these subconscious fears and all this stuff in me that is being brought to surface. But like I say, it's been going on for a while, like some years. But now it seems to be getting progressively worse. And I'm thinking that maybe it's just the fear that is within me of, all the things that I didn't get that I wanted, and everything that's gone wrong and what might go wrong. And,
What do you think would have happened to you if and I'm assuming you didn't cross that board. Did you cross the board and go to the other side of that building?
No, I left. I woke up still in the middle, afraid to move for the fear of falling.
Interesting. What do you think if you'd been able to cross that board, then maybe your dreams would have changed as a result of that?
Yeah, but I think I was afraid to see the outcome. You know how you can get paralyzed and get stuck right there, not going forward, not going backwards, just right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that seems to me that your subconscious, your psyche, is going to continue to give you what feels, in some ways, kind of like tests. These feel like tests to me, and testing you about your ability to stay calm, your ability to trust, your ability to have faith, that you'll find your family, that you'll walk across the plank to the other side. Seems to me like you're going to continue to get these until you kind of master that on some level. And maybe your dream life is giving you opportunities that your waking life is not, and that's why you're experiencing it with such intensity.
Mhm.
Yeah. One of the things that I worked with my son was having a lot of very intense dreams, and he's pretty young, and I got him to say some prayers before he went to sleep.
Mhm.
And it seems like it's helped him. I don't know if that's something you're already doing, but occasionally, or more than occasionally, you can really set your intention, and you can do that before you go to sleep. And you can pray before you go to sleep. One of the things you may want to do before you actually fall asleep at night is meditate. Do you meditate before you go to sleep?
Yes, I do, and I've been praying. I was thinking about setting up an intention and telling myself that I am safe and that all is well. But I just kind of started that. Maybe I need to really, really get with that, because I remember having this reoccurring dream when I was younger about being in my childhood home, and my family and I are standing at the bottom of the stairs, and there's this very dark presence down the stairs, and they all run away, and I just stand there paralyzed. And I remember conquering that, and I made that monster not be so big, and and ever since I became not afraid of that and was able to move, it went away. So I'm thinking this may be the same thing too. So maybe I got some more inner spiritual work to do in my subconscious mind while I'm sleeping.
It feels like it. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing that concerns me is that I don't know if it could be affecting my health, because I had a sinus infection, and I usually try to do natural alternatives to medication. So I went and got this homeopathic, and I didn't bother to read all the instructions, but, it had some stuff I was familiar with. I usually go down the line and get on the computer and check everything out, but I didn't do it. It's called Cold Calm, so I took it, and it said to take 2 tablets every 15 minutes, and then up until an hour, take 1, 2 every 30 minutes, and I don't like that, so I was trying that. It wasn't getting better. And because of my job, I don't want to be at work sniffling and coughing and, all over the patient, so I said I better go and get some NyQuil. Started in on the NyQuil, had the nasal congestion, started with the nasal sprays, and went in for a routine, checkup at my doctor's office, and my blood pressure was up. And so I attributed that to the medication, because sometimes the cold medicines and nasal sprays can give you a high blood pressure.
Right.
And since then, I've been afraid to take it again. But it's pushing me to go ahead and get animal products out of my diet. So when I saw that, I said no, and I'm going to change now. So it catapulted me to, I just can't see that.
I tell you, if you can eat some beets, maybe once a day for a week, the beets will help you bring your blood pressure down.
Okay.
Yeah. You can either cook the beets or you can juice the beets. But beets are well known for their salutary effect on blood pressure.
Okay, I'll get some beets today, man.
Yeah, that'll help. But you may have to have beets for a few days. Maybe a beet a day or 2 beets. The juice is actually, if you can get the juice, that's easier than cooking every day. So, and sometimes you.
Well, I have a new juicer. So.
Oh, there you go. Just as you get to bust out some beets, get some organic beets, get some organic carrots. Okay, I'm going to give you a little cocktail here. Organic beets, organic carrots, a little bit of organic ginger, raw ginger, and then here's the kicker, right? Cilantro. Okay. Get yourself some cilantro, and you
love it. My body craves cilantro.
So you want to save the cilantro to the end, and then you take one of the carrots and you use the carrot to force the cilantro down, and then the carrot will be the sort of the projectile, so to speak, for the cilantro. And here's what you're going to get out of that. You're going to get the beet juice, which will help you with your blood pressure. carrots, which help you with your lungs and your eyes. You're gonna get the ginger, which actually gives it a really nice taste, and will fire up your immune system. And then the cilantro. What the cilantro does is the cilantro will leach the metals out of your body. Cilantro. There was a very.
It sounds good too.
Oh, it's delicious. They have found that cilantro is what they call a chelator, and I recommend people eat cilantro daily. By the way, because we have.
I love it.
Yeah, we have so much metals and toxicity in the air right now that I think it's an important thing to do. So, the other thing you may want to look into, and I've never used one. Perhaps maybe somebody in the show could attest to them. But there are these things called dream catchers, and there are these Native American sort of pieces of art, but they're more than art. They're kind of ceremonial tools, and they will actually are placed in the room so that they can catch the bad spirits of dreams. I mean, I don't know if that would work, but it seemed to work for the Native Americans, so you may want to look into dream catchers. Okay,
I will do that. I'll really do that.
Well, you take care of yourself, all right?
Okay.
I'll put you back on hold.
Thanks for all the advice.
Okay, Lenise. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. It's our friend Lenise. She's down there in Memphis. All right, let's talk to the 847 people once again. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I always think that when I'm sick, I won't be able to do this. And then I start doing it, and I realize that I'm just not that sick.
Oh, well, you get some energy out of it, it sounds like.
I do. I absolutely do. Yeah, for sure. What's your name?
This is Toby.
Toby. Hey, Toby.
Hey there. This is my first time listening to your show, and I got the referral through Gabriella Hartwell.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
So I'm sitting at my office here working and talking to you. But I think your question was about the solar.
Yeah.
I haven't really noticed. I mean, I've been feeling really good. I haven't really noticed anything unusual. But maybe that's just me. In general, I don't think since Sunday, I think you're asking if there was something kind of unique. But no, I don't really sense anything. I'm in Chicago.
Okay.
And, it's just kind of gloomy out here. But, it's just the winter in Chicago right now. But,
right.
But nothing unusual.
So did you hear this thing about Mark Kirk? Do you know the story about him?
I do not.
So I think he's a senator or congressman from Illinois, and apparently he had received $911,000 to help not only draw up, but vote for SOPA and PIPA, which were the heavy bills that would kind of bring in internet censorship, right? Mm-hmm. And at the last moment, he changed his vote, and he voted against SOPA. And 2 days later, 52 years old, he had a massive burst in his one of his arteries, and had a huge stroke.
Oh my goodness!
This was told to me by one of the people that's probably in the chat room today. I was just wondering if you'd heard about it, because he's back in your area, and it was, the timing was a little creepy, if you ask me. I mean, he got all that money, then he changes his vote, and then 2 days later, he's going to have to learn how to feed himself again.
Wow. No, you know what? Did this happen today or?
No, it happened 2 days ago. Mark Kirk, yeah, he's a Democrat.
Oh my goodness, no, that's a really bizarre turn of events.
Yeah.
For sure. No, I don't know anything about it. I wish I have to kind of do my own research on it. My husband probably knows, but I don't. Well, he probably keeps up more on current things going on here than I do.
Well, that's why people listen to my show sometimes, because I go through a lot of this stuff for them, and that's another level of service that we provide here. So, do you want to talk about astrology while you're on the phone with me?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
All right.
And I don't know if you need my birth information, but I've been having lots and lots of dreams. I mean, they're all pretty good dreams, but they're really revolving. They're more loving dreams. And about a year and a half ago, I've been married for 14 years, and I met my husband, who I definitely thought was my soulmate, and he's a phenomenal person and a great partner in many ways. And we keep growing. We have a daughter, a 10-year-old daughter, and he's got a daughter that's in college from a previous marriage. So, I mean, everything's been really great. He does have MS, and he developed MS, when he was like 37.
Right.
And so I met him when he was 34, but we've been together for 17 years, and he's doing actually pretty well. But about a year and a half ago, I was contacted by someone I went out with in college, and someone I was pretty serious about, but said things are getting too serious. And he and I have kind of been in contact in kind of a strange way, but he kind of reappeared in my life about a year and a half ago. We have this very strong, I'm sorry?
I said,
We have this very strong connection, and I thought he might be a twin flame because I've thought about him over the years and always was kind of curious about what he's doing. I mean, he's never really contacted me. I mean, he's married and he's got 2 teenage sons, but and then I reunited with someone that I went to kindergarten with, a grade school friend who we just got, we've gotten together a couple of times, and he's a really nice person. He's single, but it seems like these men are appearing in my life, and I guess I'm trying to figure out, is this maybe a twin flame? Because I have such strong connections, particularly to one person in particular. And in many respects, it's kind of strengthened my relationship with my husband in some degrees, but it's also been a little confusing.
Yeah, sure.
Because I have this strong connection with these men, and it's just, I feel like there's a lot of love for these people. Obviously it hasn't gone to a point where it's, I don't know how to say, I've never cheated on my husband or anything like that, but it's a little confusing because I've been married, I've never really felt, strongly about anyone since I've been married, or even actually when I was going out with my husband. So it's kind of strange, so I don't know what the meaning is, and maybe I'm there to serve a purpose in their life as well as mine. Maybe I have to learn more about, I don't know, I'm just trying to think out of the box a little bit. Maybe I'm learning more about masculine energy or I'm not really sure. I mean, it's just interesting, but it's kind of created my identity a little bit in a certain respect. And one of the people has the same name as my husband. I mean, same first name. And he and I are the same sun sign, even though, I don't know what his moon sign is. But the other person that's here in Chicago, I mean, both people are here in the Chicago area, but one person that's my high school or grade school friend, I'm getting to know him better, but I know that his sun sign is a earth sign, which is my moon sign, and his moon sign is an air sign, which is my sun sign.
Right. Interesting.
So it's kind of interesting. We have a lot in common, actually. We're getting to know each other. So I'm just trying to make sense of it all, and I find it fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get your birthday.
June 14, 1958.
You have to be a Gemini.
I am.
I know. This is the Gemini's dilemma.
Oh, it is?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I have a friend who's a Gemini, and she's going through this. I mean, she's pretty happily married, but she's just going through this thing, But anyway.
What time were you born?
I was born at, I think, 11:41 in the morning.
Okay. And where did that take place?
I was born in East Chicago, Indiana.
Okay. Give me one sec here.
Sure. Thanks for looking me up.
Hey, my pleasure. Here we go. Excuse me. Okay, so there you are. There's your chart. So yes, indeed, you've got the Sun in Gemini, 23 degrees, Moon in Taurus, which you alluded to, at 22 degrees, and Venus also in Taurus at 15 degrees. You know, the placement of the Moon and Venus in your chart, I think, they're pretty unique in some ways. I mean, not so unique that it's like crazy, wild, but unique in your situation. And I'm gonna look at I'm gonna look at your ninth house, and I'm gonna look at your let's see, your second house, and let's see, and I'm gonna look at your seventh house. So in the ninth house, that's the house of like higher consciousness, and the house of philosophy and law and wisdom. It's a very objective house. It's ruled by Sagittarius. So it's as far as fire signs go, it's the most expansive of the fire signs. It's really like, you know, it's almost like it's not quite solar fire. It's like star fire. I mean, that's Sagittarius, and in some ways it has a few things in common with Aquarius. And Aquarius is the most kind of wide open, really almost anything goes kind of sign. I mean, when we look at Aquarius or the 11th house, Aquarians tend to live with principles, not rules. You know, it's fairly anarchic. Sagittarius is similar to some extent, and Sagittarius doesn't want definition at times. Sagittarius wants to expand, go beyond definitions and boundaries, but at the same time, it has to have a system to kind of wrap its experience up in. So a typical kind of Sagittarian moment would be Moses going up to the top of the mountain, you know, getting, you know, tickled by God and getting the Ten Commandments. So what happens here is we have a mystical experience, and now we have sacred or holy law. That's pretty much the archetype for Sagittarius. So what you have up there is you have your moon, which is your feeling planets, and you have Venus, which is your relationships. They're conjunct. So how you feel and how you relate are very connected. They're super, super connected. So and it's great because you've got Moon in Taurus and Venus in Taurus, great place for Taurus. So what I'm going to share with you right now is no matter what the deeper meaning of these relationships are, I'm going to tell you you can handle them, okay? Because your Moon and your Venus are nicely aspected. They're conjunct, but they're not like, you know, breathing on top of each other. They're both in two solid air signs, and at the same, earth signs. And at the same time, what you're trying to do is you're attempting to expand beyond form, okay? Because that's the ninth house to in some ways. It's about expansion. It's about more. It's about, you know, Jim Morrison is a very ninth house character. You know, he's a Sagittarius. You know, it's all about, you know, more and more. William Blake. It's going beyond your perceived doors of perception. Okay, and so what you're attempting to do now, because Jupiter is it's just about ready to go into your ninth house. Okay, so what's going to happen is this is not going to slow down. This is going to actually accelerate more. So it's not going to go away. You're going to deal. You're going to have to understand how you can anchor different levels and different layers of relationship, while at the same time kind of remaining true to the relationship that you're currently in. And Jupiter is the planet of opportunity, and it's not even you know, conjuncting your Venus yet. When it conjuncts your Venus, let me open the ephemeris. I'll tell you when that is. Hold on a sec here. Okay, where's that ephemeris? Here we go. All right, and we're in here now. All right, so when Jupiter hits 13 degrees, that'll be the end of March. It will begin to conjunct your natal Venus. So within 2 degrees, maybe even before, but 13 degrees is a nice conjunction. So you're going to experience more of this. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily going to go away, to be honest with you. And when you were talking, one of the things that came to me was that, we live in this time where, we put so many definitions on what we can love, who we can love, and how we can love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, and it makes us crazy sometimes, It's like, it begets jealousy and, and I'm not talking, jumping into a polyamorous, circle. That's not what I'm talking about. But I am talking about understanding the context of who people are, where they are, and why they are in your life, and finding the right way to relate to them. And you could have a real connection with somebody, and it's very valid and very real. And you could be very adult about it and say, I'm amazed we have this much in common. I got to tell you, I'm happily married. I love my husband. I have a very loving connection. And, I just, you're an adult, you take it from there. But I just think that this is part of something you're learning about. And we're in Aquarius right now, so this is a great, table topic to have around, really the right way of relating. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, the other thing too is, I look down in your second house, and you've got Jupiter in Libra down in your second house. And then what's really interesting, you've got your true node, and your true node is in Scorpio, and it's at 0 degrees, and it's right next to your Neptune at 2 degrees Scorpio. So part of what with that true node in the second house, part of what you have to do is you kind of have to get to the bottom of this stuff, right? Because if you don't get to the bottom of it, you're not going to be satisfied.
Yeah, and have some closure with it, you mean?
Yeah.
Put it in and file it in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Because true node in Scorpio, 0 degrees, generally marks a very intense, inquisitive seeker on many levels, but really more, it's kind of like your avocation. It's not just with relationships, although because it's still kind of in a house that's dominated by Libra, so you would follow the mystery through relationship, but there's other mysteries that would be very interesting to you, and not just relationships. So it's about really dropping down and not being afraid to get into psychological spaces of depth, right? It's like, typical question would be, if I feel for this person, am I then being unfaithful to my husband, right? I mean, it's very fundamental questions like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's all true node, especially with Neptune right there, because with Neptune, you've got to separate out. You've got to find out what's real, what isn't real, what's truth, what's illusion. And it's a very big part of your chart, actually, down in the second house. Lastly, you have Chiron. It's not quite there yet. Chiron it's going to be there, though. You're going to have Chiron coming up into your 7th house. And when Chiron moves into the 7th house, the 7th house, by the way, is your house of relationships. There can be some confusion. Okay, there can be some confusion. So I would say that you're going to have to do some more sorting out, and I don't often say things like this, okay, because I try not to be too sort of etched in stone. But I get a sense that your husband's MS will begin to manifest itself a little bit more when Chiron goes into your 7th house, okay? Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because the 7th house in your chart is Pisces, and it's relationships, and we're talking when Chiron is the wounded healer, okay? So you are in relationship.
What? The wounded healer?
Yes. So
Okay.
you are in relationship theoretically with somebody who was wounded on a neurological level, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's going to that for me when I see that, that's like, okay, it's something that it's another layer of this that you're going to be working with. Okay. Now,
yeah.
So as at the same time, it can cause a little bit of confusion. So, but the bottom line is, look, you're solid. You've got that really nice moon and Venus conjunction in your ninth house. You've got Jupiter getting ready to go up there and make a, nice little trinity. And I think you can benefit from these connections as well. And I'm not just talking about, what's the word? I'm not just talking about like love or connection or fun, but there may also be some interesting pieces outside of that, like either career or business related, because Jupiter and Taurus, it's all about it's very connected to things that are physical. It's really physical, even though the ninth house can be very speculative and philosophical. We're talking very physical stuff. So
very concrete. You mean?
Yeah. And you may find that something comes out of this where all of a sudden you realize, hey, I understand why we got back to, why I reconnected with you. Now, you worked for a company that I really liked or whatever, and now you're flipping jobs or something like that. I mean, that's another aspect that I see get played out around this. I get that there's something more than just the personal side of things.
Interesting. So that's good.
That is good. I wouldn't be afraid. I wouldn't be afraid of this. I don't think you have anything to be afraid of. You just have to manage it and be true to yourself in the best way that you can.
Well, the one thing I just want to thank you so much for that information. That makes sense. With both people, I've been very real. In general. The first person that I saw a year and a half ago, after we got together a couple times, I'm like, I don't know why we're getting together. I feel like there's something that we're supposed to do together, but I don't really know what it is.
Right.
I was really honest about it. I said it's a little bit of a mystery. I mean, he's married, I'm married, even though we have an attraction to each other.
Uh-huh.
And I think I freaked the guy out because I haven't talked to him since. I mean,
wow.
And this one, the other one here in Chicago, he's much more. I told him that my husband's got MS, and he was just like, I think I kind of shattered his reality in some extent. But I am who I am. I'm a real person.
Good.
And I don't know. Again, I said to him, I'm not sure. I mean, he's got such great energy that we enjoy being together. We've known each other since we were 5 years old.
Yeah.
And he's never married, which is kind of weird. But I mean, just so happened he just hasn't gotten married. I'm not sure what that's all about, but. It's kind of interesting that we've reconnected after all these years, and we're spending some time together. But the feeling is such a strong, good feeling that I'm like, I think there's just a lot of love stuff that I feel in general.
Yeah.
And I have to just not confuse that with. I mean, then I look at my husband and I go, I have just such a wonderful husband. I do. I really have a very unusual. I mean, I could be totally myself with him, and I think the unfortunate part for my husband is that he does have MS, and it's kind of shifted my thinking a little too.
Yeah.
About my future,
Yeah.
So I guess it all makes sense in that respect.
Well, let me just share one quick thing with you.
Yeah.
You've got the Sun and Mercury in Gemini, and Gemini is always in search of discovering who they are through other people to a large extent.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You mean they activate you?
Yes,
people activate you?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So there's a whole there's a whole concept of multiplicity that is hardwired into Gemini, and it's really, I mean, your situation is, I think, really kind of typically Gemini to a large extent. It's like, you're in this situation where you're with your husband, you've got these, two other contacts, and you don't necessarily feel torn. I mean, that's a very Gemini kind of perspective. You know, Geminis can step back and you go, wow, there's this and there's that, and you know, I don't really feel that bad, or you know, I want to figure this out. I want to see if they're a twin flame, or I want to see if they're, you know, twin soul, or you know, I'm just curious about this. You see, that's a very Gemini thing. So
most of my friends think I'm nuts, but that's okay. They don't get it.
You're not nuts. You're definitely not nuts.
They think that something's wrong. They think, oh, your marriage is having problems, and I'm like, no, that's not it. I don't have problems with my marriage. I'm not having those kind of problems with my marriage. You know?
Let me just tell you, you got a really interesting chart, by the way. The one thing that I want to share with you before we say bye is you have Pluto in your 12th house, and it's at 0 degrees Virgo, and it makes an exact sextile between your true node, which is what we were talking about earlier. And people that have Pluto in the 12th house, again, the term deep diver comes up, and you need to. Pluto and Virgo in the 12th is not. It's a very intense placement for Pluto, because the 12th house is one of these houses where it acts upon us and we don't act upon it.
Is that spirituality, or?
It is spirituality, and Pluto is the planet of death and sex and transformation, Lord of the underworld, you know, all that stuff, and you've got it in your 12th house.
I'm really into that lately.
Well, there you go.
Is that what you're saying?
Living out it's part of you for, you know, for who you are, you know, it's just, so when you go into something, even though you're a Gemini, you don't go into things superficially. I mean, you've got that very intense Pluto out there, and so allow life to unfold its mysteries to you. That's what I'm sharing with you.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not crazy.
You're definitely not crazy.
No, but you know, I'm open to love. You know, it's good to have love in your life from different people, and I'm more open to that. And and doesn't mean you have to have sex with them, or you know, it's just. But you know, not everyone can handle that.
That's true.
And maybe I'm meant to marry more than one person at some point. I don't know either. You know, I hope my husband is doing okay in the future, and but you know, you start thinking about that when you're with someone who has an illness.
Sure, absolutely.
So, but anyway, thank you so much for your thoughts and your insights. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Toby.
Okay, well, I'm still here. Are you going to be ending your show soon?
No, I'll put you back on hold.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
So that's Toby from Chicago, Illinois. Tell you what I am going to do, though. I am going to play some music. I'm going to take a break. And if there are no callers in the second part of the show, I will end the show. So if you want to hear me talk some more, you need to call in. It's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple thing. You call, I talk. Show, keep going. All right, what do I want to play here? I got to get some new tunes on here, man. Let's see what we got. Let's just play some shakuhachi. I don't think Google/YouTube has been able to decode this. Here's some nice meditative Japanese flute music. It lasts 5 minutes and 13 seconds, and I'll be back when it's over. The sounds of the shakuhachi flutes. Whenever I listen to the shakuhachi flute, like that, it reminds me of my first experiences at Japanese restaurants when I was a kid, right? They'd always have that kind of music in the background. A little bit of flute, some koto. And then I have my first taste of teriyaki chicken. All that stuff. Sukiyaki. I remember the first time I went to a Japanese restaurant, I remember it was like 9 years old. Boy, was I excited. Oh, man. It was a field trip for school, and we were practicing with pencils and how to use pencils as chopsticks. So we got our chopstick down before we went to the restaurant. I was so thrilled. I thought it was the best food I'd ever had in my life. But then again, this is somebody who has Pluto and Uranus in the ninth house. So here we are. It's 12:04. You're listening to How to Get the Big One Out of the Way. Navigating the Astrological Matrix. I'm Robert Phoenix. And we had a long session there with Toby from Chicago. And it's actually a really interesting, she brought up an interesting question. It's about how do we find the right way of relating to people, through our social customs and mores and our veneers and all that stuff, how do we honor significant relationships that we're in while at the same time not necessarily shutting down what we're experiencing or seeing with another person. Now, sometimes no is important. It's like, no, I can't. You can only hold so much right now, and this is the only person I can hold it for. That's fine. I think no is probably a pretty good strategy at times. But there are other times when maybe you can theoretically think about incorporating another person, in your life in a way that's agreed upon. It's acceptable between people. Because some of the biggest neuroses that we have are, trying to figure out these weird angles of relating. And sometimes, we can make things work when it doesn't feel like that there's opportunities for it to work. That's my sense. So it was a good conversation to have with Toby. In the light of the fact that we are in the sign of Aquarius, and she called when Chiron and the moon were conjunct. So, we're trying to sort out, the connections between that Chironic lunar miasma, where we're all one. And how can we be individuated when we're all one, or how can we be all one when we're just a bunch of individual little zygotes clinging together in this massive rock rotating around the sun. It is 12:07, and I don't think I can just talk blatant, for another hour. I don't think I can do that. I don't think I have it in my lungs. So unless I'm gonna put it out there for another 5 minutes, and if you want a reading, I'll stay on the air for another 5 minutes. If not, I'll shut this down and take this party elsewhere today. Let's see what else is happening astrologically. We've got Mercury in Gemini. Oh, that's her chart. Hello. Get back to real time here. Okay, we got Mercury in Capricorn, 26 degrees. Getting ready to go into Aquarius. Venus, Pisces, 14 degrees. Mars, Virgo. Mars is retrograde now. So Mars retrograde is kind of an interesting aspect. And when Mars is Mars, it's just all about being Mars, right? Move forward, make things happen. In Virgo, Mars in Virgo it's a nervous Mars. There's a lot of energy around Mars Virgo, but it's not always easy to deal with. It's not flowing at times. It's not solid at times. It's not, it's not always congruent. So you can get a lot done with Mars and Virgo, but you have to kind of get through a lot of nervous energy that's associated with it, collectively, obviously. But retrograde Mars is more about looking back, right? A retrograde Mars Virgo would be looking back on, how you've been taking care of yourself for the past six months, or 8 months, a year. That would be a really solid Mars retrograde Virgo, reviewing your health and reviewing what's healthy for you. It's not just the body, but it's also what we have around us, whether it's people, whether it's relationships. Mars Virgo vigorously promotes personal health, and that goes beyond just the body. So this is a good review time, to find out what you want out of your life. It's also really good for if you're into budgeting and planning. Mars Virgo is a great time to look back on your finances. Now, a lot of us don't like to do it. Some people really do and make a lot of money doing it. But some people will actually do it on their own. God bless them. And look back on your finances, and you can figure out, where you've been kind of leaking. Whether it's a phone plan that you no longer need, or whether it's what else? It would be something along the lines of the car that you're driving. Maybe the car that you're driving is sucking too much gas. Mars retrograde Virgo would encourage you to look back in the past few months, look at your finances and find out where you can actually save money and become more efficient moving forward when Mars goes direct in Virgo. And one of the things that I've experienced is I had a Land Rover, and I loved my Land Rover. It was a cool car. And then it broke down, and I sold it. And I've been driving around this smart car recently, and it's tiny. It's a real tiny car. But I got to tell you, that car gets about 43 miles per gallon. Think about that. Put $5 in that car, and I can drive 43 miles. Well, $4 really. It's $3.99. So you may want to just go back and figure out how you can become more efficient with your money, your resources. That's all Mars retrograde Virgo. But it is about looking back. And it would be appropriate to make those changes and then move forward. Some of them you can do now. Some of them you may want to wait on. Maybe you want to get a different car once Mars goes direct. It's up to you. But that's another aspect of that. Let's see. We're going to have a Venus-Mars opposition coming up here pretty soon. And I think the Venus-Mars opposition actually gets played out on the world stage in kind of a big way. Venus is in Pisces right now, and we have the opportunity with Venus and Pisces. I saw a video today. It was a disturbing video. And let me tell you why it was disturbing. Well, I'll tell you what I saw, and then I'll tell you why it was disturbing. So the video was a young man from the United States. So he's an American. He's Jewish, and he was in Israel, and he was with a group of people, and he was protesting the Palestinian occupation. Okay, and within minutes after kind of delivering his mission statement, the police show up, and they wasted no time with him, none. They asked for his passport. He wasn't going to give him. It's all on video. He wasn't going to give him his passport. I don't blame him, to be honest with you. And then they took him down, and it was brutal. absolutely brutal. And they bound him, and they brought him up, and they hog-tied him and stuffed him in a personnel carrier. And I saw that video, and it was hard to watch. It was really hard to watch. But what it did is two things. And we're almost in that conjunction, that opposition right now. It did two things. Number one, it set my critical faculties in motion, right? Like, how could they do that? Why would they do that? Lots of questions, lots of bigger existential questions. And then my response was, I felt for that guy. I thought to myself, what happened next? Where did they take him? What did they do to him? Where did that go? And how's he going to get out? I mean, these are all. So it evoked in me a real feeling of compassion for what he was doing, bravery, even, but more along the lines of compassion. So I think we're going to have the opportunity to see more of this manifest. And we need it. We need it right now. We also need the critical piece too. Mars Virgo, looking back, well, how far do we need to look back for Mars and Virgo to tickle our critical fancy? 9/11, 2011, 9/11, 2001, I don't know. Saturn is at 29 degrees Libra. Just when you think it's about to leave, coming back for more. Saturn goes retrograde. And let's see when Saturn does that. Saturn goes retrograde in February. On the 8th of February, Saturn goes retrograde. So it will go retrograde and go all the way back to 22 degrees in June, and then it moves forward. And then this is it from June to October. We have the last rays of Saturn in Libra hitting us. And then we have, I believe, a very, very powerful transition from Saturn in Libra to Saturn in Scorpio, which will be trining Chiron at the time at 5 degrees, and Saturn actually catches up to Chiron, and that's in November. Yeah, Saturn catches up to Chiron on the 10th of November. Isn't that Guy Fawkes Day? Just wondering. That's when the two go into almost an exact trine. Neptune will be moving direct, so we're going to have Saturn also trining Neptune at 0 degrees, but still nonetheless a trine. Saturn and Neptune will initially come into contact with each other in October on the 6th, when Neptune will be at 0 degrees. So a Saturn-Neptune trine should be very powerful. Very, very powerful. Saturn in Scorpio is going to be all about discovery in ways that people are not going to be all that psyched. We're going to see a lot of really grisly details become revealed during Saturn and Scorpio. We're going to look at the underbelly of corruption with Saturn and Scorpio. We're going to look at the abuses of power with Saturn and Scorpio. And we're going to be dealing with the abuses of power with Saturn and Scorpio. It's going to be a very intense time leading into, of course, the final months of 2012. Okay, so it looks like nobody else is going to call them today. Somebody's calling me on my phone, but they'll have to wait. All right, so let me end the show. I want to thank want to thank my callers the callers who chimed in today. That would be Toby and Lunice. And I'd like to thank everybody in the chat room for showing up and hanging out and doing your thing. And everybody else who tends to support this show and my blog and whatever else I do in your own unique contribution and way. My website is robertphoenix.com, and the radio show. You can also find these shows over on YouTube. You can follow me on YouTube as well. I think we're putting together a compilation video of all the strange sounds from around the world. We'll have that on the YouTube page soon, and you'll be able to listen to all the freaky sounds that we're hearing now. So anyway, thank you, and I'll be back on Friday. Hopefully I will have a guest of interest. It looks like I'll be physically able to shake and bake on Friday. I feel better now. I just got to get rid of this cough. So thanks, everybody, for helping me out and giving me suggestions with all those great medicinals and all the other good stuff. Appreciate that. All right, so use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. You've been navigating the astrological matrix. I'll be back next week at 10 a.m., by the way. 10 a.m. It's generally a better time, I think, for everybody. All right, take care. Bye.
We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.